Peace. Greetings. A little short, brief message here. Short, brief message. Man, clip that thing out, man. Hear that? Short, brief message. Greetings to all. Trust your day is going well. I just want to chime in real quick. It's probably going to be windy. A little brief message about something I had on. I could give y'all a little update on something. Happy Libra season. I feel like a lot that's happening for me during this Libra season has a lot to do with remaining balanced in everything. Let's give honor to Source, the Most High, the Creator, who make all this possible. Clap it up for yourself wherever you are on your journey. Again, for the most part, man, stay balanced. Really. If you don't know what it is, life is really is a balance, man, with everything that goes on. I had a great talk with, my father today, and it really shows me how could I break this down? Like, full circle things are coming. And, just having brief conversations about just seeing the growth of where we all are. For those of you that have chimed in on my video before, when I've spoken about how, speaking to him about how becoming a man and how every, man or woman isn't a mother and or father or mother, however you want to say it. But again, to all of it, just basically getting into the importance of like really balancing out how much you give yourself, how much you show up for yourself and others, and on all levels, mentally, emotionally, physically, and so forth. Because what we touched on today, of what he was talking about, and this is one thing I realized is like the best guidance that I can ever give you. Because he mentioned this. He said, you got people that give advice and you give guidance. And I was like, you know what? It's like we may say things differently, say it from a different perspective. But bro, language is so universal. Someone may say over there, down there, whatever, right? It still is funny because it's still a universal language. And what I'm getting at is even like when a child cries, it's still a way of like needing some type of attention. It's just like when we have outbursts as adults or whatever it is, we're pretty much crying out for some type of acceptance or attention. But he had brought up something that really I wanted to just share with you all. When I mean like talking about how life is a balance, it's also important of even, he mentioned guidance. He said that's one word. He have a way of saying things like, man, I'm going to give you one word, son, and you know what that one word is? If y'all hear him talk, it would be so spot on. Son, that one word is guidance. And, everybody don't got it. That's what people are missing. And it's amazing, because the elder told me a while back that, if you have your elders, if you have people here, and depending on the circumstances, because not all connections or whatever are healthy. But what he was speaking on, he was like how, and I'm going to tell you my interpretation from it, but he was saying like how a lot of people don't have guidance. And I was like, man. And, we start to get in a conversation talking about like my mom and how he eventually told me about like why he had to make, certain difficult decisions of parting from me when I was younger. And then we're both now healthy talking about building a brotherhood. And what I mean by that is outside of the title of father and son, but the importance of, he said, what most people don't have? I said, what's that? He said, brotherhood. And I was like, wow. He said, and that's the thing I want to talk to you about, even when it comes to guidance. He said, brotherhood. I was like, wow. I said, you're right. And I'm going places with this. It's so many things we discussed that I would just want to share with the young men, and also bring awareness to even a lot of our young women and mothers and women in this entirety. Going back to guidance and how that connects to brotherhood. A lot of us did not have said guidance of, people who really believed in us or encouraged us. And, I expressed to him how, like, even now, trying to build and put things behind me now, even as a father, to build something with a father. And having to put things behind me to realize, like, okay, he did the very best he could, or he made certain decisions, and then, having this exchange again to bring balance back into life in itself, mentally, emotionally, and physically. And what I'm getting at is this: is like, had I not had the courage to talk to him about those things, because I realized, like, I didn't have that healthy guidance from a man, and in order for me now to have more of a healthier approach, I have to get to the nitty-gritty of things. I have to find out, like, why. Sometimes we want to avoid, or we have repressed and suppressed so many things because we did not have this healthy relationship, or now we come to this awareness that we didn't have this relationship that we wanted and needed from a father or a mother figure, or from the matriarchal and patriarchal aspect in our lineages. And so that guidance is very important, because a lot of us have been misguided. A lot of us have been very confused, or a lot of us have been subjected to self-destructive patterns. And, now having this talk with my father about things, it's like I also, was honest with him and tell him, and this is where the brotherhood comes in. It's like, I could, like I expressed to him, I was like, I could be angry, which I was, when he told me about why he made certain decisions. Then I also saw the bigger picture, to where I expressed to him, I'm like, a lot of us that are fathers, a lot of you that are probably, and mothers, like, you're trying to move on and move forward on things. It really is you really have to allow yourself to grieve through said things when it comes to not being able to fill that void, because you won't ever feel that void of not having that father or mother. And that's a deep acceptance, because we want to believe and have this fantasy around, like, oh my gosh, like, they're going to get better, they're going to do this and do that. But a lot of us had to guide ourselves out of the being misguided. I'm a living fucking proof of it, and still living it. Because it's the deepest thing with accepting the thing about the guidance is that when I'm speaking to him, it's like he's trying to develop or even share insight or certain things about who I am. I mean, not who I am, but, just basically giving me some type of knowledge or wisdom based off from his experience. And that's why I feel like I'm going to give the polarity to this, is that a lot of us have, again, to realize that wherever people are in their life, there are their projections, whether it's coming from an unhealthy or wounded place, or a shadow place, or insecurities. It's based off their experiences. This is why you have mothers and fathers on their approach. For instance, my father still talks about religious things and still believes in, his belief around religion is, some people, again, I don't judge them, because it's not my place. That's their programming and their belief. It's centered around, like, talking about the Father, God and all like this. And from my awareness, I don't believe certain things. I believe in a balance of there being a father and a mother, when it comes to energetically speaking, when it comes to a balance of feminine and masculine principles and energies, because we all come from a father and a mother. So, I listen, I observe, but I'm allowing myself to still be a student. Because even when he's saying like, yeah, son, you got to put God first. You know, we have a lot of people that, you know, oh yeah, you got to put God first. But I'm observing to see the approach, because a lot of people approach isn't healthy. And I know a lot of you have dealt with that when it comes to even religious people in their background and their upbringing. They'll literally try to harm you or, you know, devalue you just because you don't believe in said religion. Or just because you don't believe in their God or believe in a God that, you know, misplaces or has misplaced the matriarchal aspect of everything. And so I'm still listening, but that don't mean I gotta interject and I always feel like I gotta argue and, you know, and be like, oh well, I don't believe in that. No, I'm listening to the message, because where I'm getting at is that it just shows us how we can build, now that we can build on something of authenticity and honesty. And what I mean by that is, like, you know, we were talking about how it took almost 30-something years just for me to have the courage. Because, again, it's not on him. You know, we like to put the blame on other people, but it really took me 30-something years to realize, like, you know what, maybe I can ask him. And what I mean by that is, like, I had to ask from, you know, the father wounds that I've had when he wasn't there. Because that father wound is internal. That father wound and that mother wound is internal. This is our internal world. The little boy and girl that was affected in our childhood, that essence of who we are. And we have these questions because we have repressed and suppressed so many memories and emotions throughout the years that now they come up. And then you have questions around now, because in that time where when I was younger, when I tried to question things, it was shunned, or I was silenced, or I was abused, or I was manipulated, or because some of us, we grew up in environments like, how dare you question your mother or your father about why this person isn't here, or why they're not doing this, and so forth. How dare you do that? You know, instead of just appreciating how much I do for you. And, you know, a lot of us have that story. But now being where I am, I realize it just helped shape and mold me into the man that I am and becoming. And, you know, I'm having this talk with him, like, yeah, it wasn't, you know, you seeing a man that I had to become this within my own self. You know, I did have certain examples, but it was more challenging when you did not have more consistency when it came to a more structural, healthy environment, and also, you know, men who directed that or led that charge. So for me, for a lot of us, like, I'm just living proof to show you that you can start somewhere. And again, it all depends on where you are. This is nothing to be forced, but I'm grateful as I heard like when I finally heard like the discussion between my father about, like, you know, hey, this is why I made this decision. I finally see the balance in it, because we all have had, whether it's a mother or father, where, you know, the mother has kept this disclosed or made it seem like through her probably bitterness or through her jealousy or insecurities, just because the father or mother, however the circumstances, you know, connect or, you know, to you or resonate, you know, that it isn't always sitting around them playing, or it was sitting around them playing the victim. Like, oh, this happened to me, and this, you know, and I'm gonna put them on, you know, child support and all this other stuff, and not realizing how that affects not just the man and or woman, but it affects the child. And that's the biggest awareness that I've come to. A lot of this is that I expressed to him, I said, this shit don't come with a manual. And it has been very challenging to be something that I've never seen. And our perspectives on fatherhood is completely different. But now I realize the importance for a lot of us now to be able to forgive ourselves for what we allowed or what we could not control in our childhood. That's where you start at. Is that can be some of our deepest wounds, is where we don't realize that some of the things that in our childhood we had was really beyond our control. Some of our mothers and fathers, or whatever caregivers, people that adopted us, whatever it is, these were people battling their own spiritual warfare. They were battling their own, whatever you want to call them, demons. They were battling, you know, they was trying to maneuver through life as well. They had their own, you know, thing that they were going through. A lot of them never talked about their childhood experiences to their own kids. So, you know, I only know a little piece about what my father really went through. And then just hearing that, it's like, when you really listen to these elders, that's what I meant to finish a minute ago. And it says, like, an elder telling me, like, how, you know, these elders that are alive, or, you know, the ones that are elders to us, they're like a library, man. If you have the opportunity to still sit down, or even if you have the opportunity, some of you, to try to build something with your mother or father. Like I said, you don't have to force it, because a lot of us have reached that breaking point with a lot of our mothers and fathers. And for me, it's like hearing his perspective, it allows me now to really show up more in my masculinity. Because again, I've talked to you about my mother wound, but now I'm realizing the balance between the father wound. And that means, like, the things that I felt that I'm out here at a time trying to perfect what it means to be a father, and in actuality, I've never seen it. So for a lot of us, that's very fucking difficult and challenging, because you're trying to be something you never seen. And also, in the midst of that, if you don't have said guidance on really loving yourself, honoring yourself, and being truthful, you'll find yourself masking for other people, or hiding your insecurities, or you know, your financial insecurities, your, you know, what else? Like physical insecurity. It's just a lot. Like a lot of stuff that is within that, for those who are in tune can see, such as myself. But for those to the world who are so consumed by the outer, the physical, and the material shit, they'll be more accepting of that, just to still be in denial about the truth about who they are. So, you know, it's still motivating, because some of us, we want to build, we really deep down, we want to have our connection with our mother and father. But that thing is challenging, man, when you realize, like, this person may not ever change. It may not ever change. And some of them don't care to. Some of them don't know how. And some of them simply don't want to. I don't know who that's for. They don't want to. Be honest with y'all. Some of them don't want to. They don't want to. And honestly, the deep part of that, they don't have to. That's where the acceptance goes in. They don't have to. And that's something deeper I learned even with the mother wound from my mom. And it's no judgment on her, but when you have people that go through drug abuse and substance abuse and shit, man, that has probably been one of the most challenging things to really accept, that people may not ever change, or from their perspective, it's completely different than us. For those that don't know, it's like you can tell someone, oh, go to rehab. You can tell someone, stop doing this and stop doing that. But in reality, they probably don't know how. And they probably never seen someone do it. They probably feel isolated. They probably feel like everyone's against them. They really don't have the support. They can go to rehab, but the support there, maybe that's not probably the support they're looking for. They're looking for that something that's familiar, something that like that family support. Look at the word familiar. It's like family support, or people, maybe that mother and father, somebody that needs to encourage them, like, you know, waiting around, like, I believe in you. You can do this. And that's why I feel like how it connects a lot of our lives is that we don't learn how to, you know, really be aware and know thyself and be self-sufficient when it comes to relying on, you know, being more emotionally intelligent as men and women, being self-reliable, being responsible for our well-being first before others, before we go out there and try to save the fucking world, before we go out there and try to think, even when we have kids, thinking that we can save them from every emotion and protect them from the world. And in reality, we have to show up for ourselves first. And that's what I realize I'm doing differently when it comes to, like, having these talks with my father. It's like I realize, like, this father wound is just as important as a mother wound, because the matriarchal gives birth to the patriarchal. So I'm sitting here like, wow, me getting this insight and talking to him about guidance, I'm like, it's like it can be triggering because I'm like, you talking about guidance. I'm like, nigga, I ain't never had none. Where was you at? So a lot of that just brings up stuff like, bro, like repressed emotions from the fact of like, you should have been there. But it's accepting the fact of like, look, I'm gonna tell you why I wasn't there, son. This is this, this, and this. And I think that's the most challenging things that a lot of us don't want to accept, because we'll get to a place and we'll think, you can be still progressing, but at the same moment, are you honest with yourself to realize, like, you know what? Like, I'm talking to him. I'm having these conversations. I think this is definitely going to hit a lot of people. It's like, yeah, I'm having this conversation with him, and yeah, we building on something, but I had to accept the fact of, like, people got a life outside of mine. They have a whole life outside of mine. I can't stop and tell him to put down everything and come be a father now, because I'm a father now. That shit challenging, man. It really is, because these are the honest conversations that we need to have as men and women. I feel like that's the thing, that's the bridge between that. A lot of us don't realize that we can rebuild, or, you know how they say people burn bridges? When it comes to brotherhood and motherhood, I feel like this is the thing that is a disconnect between a lot of women and men in building a brotherhood. That we got to have honest conversations. We got to be honest about, like my father said this, he said the thing about brotherhood, and I feel like I see the importance of him saying it, like in me, like being open to receive it, because that's the thing, like when you're growing and choosing to expand in life, you still got to remain a student. Like, I don't have all the answers, but I be getting a lot of clarity, even though this man has a lot of wisdom. And I can't, like I told him, I can't undo what has been done, when it comes to time, but I can cherish it now. Like, he's there for a reason. That's why I'm getting at. It's like a lot of people are there for a reason now, whether it be for a season, whether it be for that mere moment. We got to learn to cherish it, because if we don't, guess what? I know people who don't have a mother and a father. I know people who don't have, a sibling or something, and something happened, and, they wish they could have done this while they were there. Like, cherish it, man. Like, right now, this is a moment to where we can become at peace with a lot of things. And I feel like a lot of that uncomfortable truths we need to have is those uncomfortable conversations with ourselves and the father and mother. And sometimes you got to approach it so many ways. Everybody ain't want to talk, because some of them you can't tell shit to. You can't even talk to them. Sometimes you may just need to write a letter. It's now about the approach, because don't nobody want to sit back and argue no more. It's enough going on. And protecting my peace is realizing, like, you know what? I don't know what he's gonna say, but I'm gonna ask anyway. That's just like asking the Most High, the Creator, for something, and you get it, and it's not exactly what you say you want it. But sometimes we got to get what we need. We got to get what we need, and that need and want is something that is not the same. Because just think about, we got everything we wanted. If everybody got everything what they wanted, then what would be the point if everybody believed and did the same thing? So the needs are sometimes something that is more a priority, because I had a moment where, I could have traveled here, I could have did this, but I told myself, I'm like, bro, I need rest. I need to, be responsible for my well-being. I need to clean, do this and get this. And somebody wanted me to travel somewhere. I'm like, man, look, I need to go get these tires. As much as I would, like, get up and go and be like, oh yeah, I'm finna, but them tires more important, because my safety and my well-being for myself and other people are more important than that event. Longevity, those tires gonna be more longevity when I go places, but that little event gonna last for a few hours? Then I gotta use them same tires I know I should have changed. Then you just never know what can happen. Discernment, intuition. That, those people, if they meant to be there, they'll be there. That event, it'll happen again. That club, whatever it is, it'll be there. The beach ain't going nowhere. Some things, certain things, it's just like, it ain't going nowhere. But there are certain things that we need to learn to cherish. And again, just going back to sometimes the divine will reveal to us like, look, I know what happened in the past. We can't undo it. But what can you do now to shift and clear that karma? I realize a lot of things I'm clearing has a lot to do with that. It's like these conversations that I'm having, I'm like, wow, I'm really here to do it differently. I really am. And when you're breaking generational chains and cycles, you realize like, yeah, I maybe didn't have this certain guidance, but I relied on my inner guidance, my inner GPS. And I did take heed of certain messages. But I realized like sometimes when you have to, your life, you know, your intuition is like a GPS. Sometimes there is a roadblock here, but you reverse, like review, revise, you know, and then you got to turn around, but you reroute yourself. And that's what life has shown me is like being a student. It's like you got to realize like life is literally like your soul is guiding you. It's like a GPS, your intuition, your discernment, whatever your gifts are. It's like literally like a GPS. Your gifts are going to open doors. You're going to be doing things completely different. My father also shared something something that was amazing. He was like, you finna be 35? I said, yeah. He said, man, 35 years ago, a lot of this same stuff you see happening now is the same thing. And I said, what you mean? I said, it just evolved, right? He was like, pretty much. He said, back then, whether you want to call it pandemic or whatever it is, he said there was a crack epidemic. And he said, man, look at this shit right now. He said, same drugs, just different. People doing the same thing. He said, but you got to be the one. When I say, and I'm saying this for you, but this is what he said. You got to be the one to change something. No matter what everybody else doing. And I was like, whoa. And that shit brought up so much. He was like, you got to be the one to approach it and counter it. And I was like, he's sharing something. He's saying something to me. Can I be open to receive this knowledge, but then apply it? Because that's when the wisdom come in. The wisdom come through the experience. We want you've been in a world with instant gratification and think you gotta, shit like instant grits. Everybody want instant gratification, instant this, instant, all this social media shit. I ain't finna say nothing about nothing but anywho, people want all this gratification, all this stuff instantly, all this, but what about the integrity through it all? What about, yeah, you can struggle, but that don't mean you gotta survive. Like, yeah, you survived it, but that don't mean you gotta continue that mindset. We are here to do things completely different. We are here to approach it completely different. Be ye renewed, like, what is it? Renewal of your mind, or be ye renewed of the changing of your mind and your ways or your habits. I gotta get better at them verses, but. And, I was expressing, I said, this is why, it's no judgment on the people I used to be around, but it's like, when you can reflect on a lot of things, people are doing the same thing. And in order to create change and that comes with chaos, to create something different. We know people still doing the same thing. And to other people, it may look like, oh, well, you doing the same thing. It's different perspectives, not that it matters. It's the approach to it. You could do something similar, but it's the approach. Are you doing it your own unique way? And that's what I feel with me. What makes me so unique in my own way is that I approach it. I don't want to look like nobody else. I don't want to talk like nobody else. I don't want to create art like nobody else. I want to do it my own unique way, what I was given. And if that opens up doors to more prosperous, and abundant connections and expansion, so be it. I'm grateful and honored. Am I attached to that? No. It's just I realize it's the gratification or, the beauty and the reward of honoring my own path. And that's how I'm seeing the beauty now, even for a lot of us, is that we can choose when we rise to do it differently. Yeah, you didn't have a father there. Yeah, I didn't. But now I can make a choice to be a father to not only myself, but the kids I will have. And be a father to the kids in certain communities, or be some type of, influence or an inspiration to somebody, whether it's speaking or something. We all represent something in some type of unique way. So it's, again, are you going to stay in? I said this to my father. I said something about, like, you got two different people. I said, you got people who stay stuck in the past and they can't get past what they're doing. Then you got people, which I told him I was inspired by him because once he told me his side about what he went through with my mother, and then what he went through with my I have another sister, like, and how he approached it, I was like, wow. I said, I'm inspired by the fact of how your resilience, how you still, even though you didn't stay with my mom, or, you didn't do things this way, his mindset on how, like, hey, son, like, I had to do what was best. There comes a times where a man or people have to do what what is best for them, mentally, emotionally, physically, and knowing that it's still going to have an effect on a child, especially if you have kids. It is still the biggest issue that has been at play is that people that, I tell him, I was like, people that don't take accountability, don't see the wrongs in their actions and how it has affected other people. And that's the thing I noticed with my mother wound, is that as I start to become more aware of myself and that wounding that I've dealt with women, and then I projected onto them and lived through them, I realized, I was like, yo, there's something that has a change. And I was too, when we're young and soaking things up like a sponge, we want to change our mothers. There's nothing more that we want to have our caregivers or parents to show up and just be healthy and be more aware of their actions and so forth. But then I had to accept the fact of, like, it's on me now. I'm in the driver's seat of this life. Now I can do it differently. Now that I'm more aware, now that I've been given this more awareness around what I need to do, then now my approach matters more than ever, rather than allowing other people to dictate that. Now that I'm aware and more conscious as an adult, I don't have to let things happen like they used to. I don't have to lean on this person for, be in any way codependent on the fact of, like, oh, this is how I'm supposed to be, or that's my mother, that's my father, so I got to have more respect for them than myself. Absolutely not. So that's what a lot of us are here to change. We realize that a lot of their belief systems were centered around or led to self-destructive behavior, self-destructive patterns. And that's where the awareness comes in now, is how we realize, like, I wasn't honoring myself, but it's showing me to honor my mother and father. But they don't say honor and disrespect and shit like that. No. Somebody has to take a stand or continue to fall and loop in the same fucking behavior patterns. I was like, I'm not finna do that. So I cannot get back. For a lot of us, we have to realize, like, we cannot get back what the time lost or whatever, however you want to perceive it. And at the same moment, a lot of our mothers and fathers can't give what they never had. That's that earth, wind, and fire, baby. You can't give what you never had. And when I realized that, it clicked. My mother never had a stable home with her mother and father. Nope. How's she gonna give me that? My father never had that. And based on his perception and perspective on how he went through things, he saw a lot of arguing. He saw a lot of things where conflict avoidance, where, a lot of people don't even realize unconsciously, like, they avoid having these, and I don't mean physical altercations, but they avoid having these uncomfortable truths and talks with their mothers or people or partners, whomever it is, even their kids, because they've been, their mother and grandma and for generations and so forth have been suppressing so much shit. They have repressed, they've suppressed it for years and been repressing it, and have, like, the repressed memories and stuff. Anything that comes up, anything that comes up, they avoid it. Oh, let's change the subject. Oh, I don't want to talk about that. They'll switch the subject. Yeah. But a lot of us are here now, we're not skipping over that shit. Because the beauty of this is that I realized why I had to go through what I was going through with my father and mother. I had to experience that shit. And I'm so honored and grateful. And that's throughout the years where I wasn't at this place. I wasn't confident in showing up as a man and a father, and confident showing up as just who I am. I wasn't this confident in speaking because I used to feel shame and guilt for even wanting to speak my truth. But I always was naturally like that. I was always giving advice or sharing some type of something with somebody else, but I needed to give that shit to myself. And that's the thing I'm telling you about balance. Because this is where now life is balancing itself out. Hello, Libra season. It's where a lot of people aren't going to like the decisions that you make. But when it comes to said balance, there's a balance between showing up for yourself where it can seem to them very selfish. But for you, it can seem selfish in a way to where you're showing up for you. But in a way, you can still look at it as selfless. If I don't show up for me, then how am I going to show up for y'all? Because again, their way of, in their perspective, their belief system is help, but don't even know what it is to have support, genuine support. And we are the ones that are here to reinvent that, recreate that for our lineage. Literally sit back and revise what the fuck has been going on in our lives and the people that came before us. That's the importance of it. When I see what my father has experienced and talked about in his childhood, my mom and the things that she didn't say. Again, I heard his perspective on why he made this decision. And I told him, I said, I pretty much already know her side or whatever because it's what she hasn't said. And that's for the psychologies and people that observe and sit back and observe. A lot of us, it's very difficult because we wait around and think people got to say something. No, in that silence says it all. Or even them not saying anything, in response to you wanting, you needing this truth from them, and them been repressed or suppressing it for years. And that's not their fault because, again, guidance. When I look at a lot of the matriarchal figure and patriarchal figures in my family, guidance. A lot of them have never had guidance. Never had any type of healthy guidance, no sense of awareness. And this goes back to building now in a stage of rebuilding brotherhood and motherhood. And it's challenging because you talk about trust. And when you talk about a country that has enabled like so much shit around, if you don't have money, then how can you trust this person? Or even just when you see the wickedness and the cruel behaviors, the abuse, the power struggles and all this shit, it's nothing centered around what a brotherhood represents. Because you have all these organizations, all these places that are divided, and they have their brotherhood. And a lot of their brotherhood and, a lot of their shit is not of substance. It's not of real integrity. It's not of integrity. It says it, but that's the illusion. That's the mask that's falling off. We're clearly seeing it like that does not reflect value or any type of substance. Because it would anything that you cannot threaten authenticity. If it was authentic, we wouldn't be seeing the shit show right now. I'm just popcorn. And getting into motherhood. A lot of women, I was saying, like, this bridge. We are now in a stage of trying, we seen what happened before, whether ancestors or people that came before us who literally through their own dysfunction, through their own disagreements, burn bridges. And a lot of us are here to mend those things with a lot of people, whether it's through culture, creed, religion, spirituality, the oneness of it. To rebuild that bridge at one point in time that was the oneness of all this shit that connects us all. That's what it's about. In some way, shape, or form, whether matriarchal or patriarchal, there is something that can connect us. Beyond skin, beyond finances, beyond career status, beyond all of that. Where's the brotherhood? Where's the motherhood? And when you see women like this, a lot of these structures, it does not promote or encourage motherhood. And I mean motherhood, sisterhood. I've been saying motherhood this whole fucking time. Sisterhood and brotherhood. But it doesn't promote any type of sisterhood. Sister, brother. And it's beyond the color. I'm talking about people that to the depths on a soul level, on a genuine level that, look, I got your back through whatever you're going through. And I don't mean through what people knowing that it's going to affect you too, and then it has this boomerang effect of like, no, I mean holding you accountable and know that, you know, seeing things through, like what my father says, like seeing things through for longevity. Where are we? Why aren't we holding people? Brotherhood and sisterhood is about holding each other accountable and then speaking to these kids and letting them know the importance of, like, look, man, some kids I talk to, whether they're like 20, 21, planting a seed that day and be like, look, man, I know you out here, like, you know, you smelling yourself. What they say, what the elders say, wet behind your ears or whatever like that. Have fun, man, but at the same moment, be aware. Be aware where you are. Be aware of how you moving. You know, enjoy life, live. Do you need a mentor? Do you need, you know, hey, man, I appreciate you. I love you. How are you? You good? Brotherhood, sisterhood, man. This is what's being illuminated right now about the balance of things are being brought back into balance. Where you have seen the wounded, there should be healing. There has not been sisterhood. There's been so much betrayal, so much backstabbing in family dynamics, first with the mothers and the grandmothers and the daughters. And this is where you don't have guidance. Guidance. Same thing with men. If they're not in this status, if they're not of this creed and color. Because people want to have their brotherhood amongst their dysfunctional as structured racism or hatred. You know, it ain't nothing but hatreds in a lot of these groups. It ain't nothing. And then it's, how you call that brotherhood if you have, and there's nothing integrity, nothing built upon honesty and authenticity. What reflects integrity, a good character in that shit? When you're sitting here building something upon having this vendetta or this envy or, you know, evil eye towards people just because they're darker? On both parties too. It goes both ways. And then through it all, you got people upholding their hatred for other people, and in that don't even give a fuck about the youth. Whoo, you ain't ready for that. You ain't ready to be called out. Brotherhood. This is why some of us move like we move. It's no judgment against the people I hang around. I'm like, bro, I don't want my daughter to be twerking. It is what it is. I don't want my daughter. She, you know, it's important for a lot of us to know, like, hey, maybe I went through this to realize, like, I'm here to encourage now the women, the young women, the mothers, the men, and so forth. Like, hey, man, we really can do something differently, even if you don't do it today. Why? What does the elder say? Why put off tomorrow what you can do today? I'm just planting seeds. Like, it is what it. If I don't want my child to be involved, no. Why would I want my child to associate themselves with someone who don't like people that are darker? But just because her father is it, no, that's not integrity. That's not authenticity. We don't need that to protect our peace. When you talk about building businesses, when you're talking about the well-being of people, seeing beyond their color, how are you? How are you really doing? Reestablishing brother and sisterhood within that. Not just this fake shit that y'all been building, like, oh, you just come around just to see, just to pocket watch, just to see and get close to people, and then try to get close to their wives and try to get, you know, same with women too. Man, I'm telling you, I learned a lot. When I grew up with women, whoo-wee. That's the thing I see the beauty of the divine masculine and feminine. It's like you see the wounded masculine and the wounded feminine operate through both men and women in both energetics, like energetic way, feminine and masculine. You see the wounded masculine and feminine. And that's why I speak about my father wound and mother wound. Because my experiences are different. Because someone may have more feminine energy. This person they both have masculine and feminine energies. But I'm talking about the principles of how their identities are different. Like who they are emotionally, then rather who they are logically. Like what their experience has been with men and then what their experience have been with women. Yeah, it'll show you right there. And that's just living proof. I'm not coming up here perfect and trying to be all, oh my gosh, holy them down. Absolutely not. This is why a lot of us got to move away. When you look at these corporations, a lot of stuff that's falling apart, there's nothing that really highlights or encourage what it really means for brotherhood and sisterhood. Or even the integrity in that. It's all these groups and all this shit and this, if you're not a part of this, all this shit sound, I mean, it starts from when you were a child, being groomed. And all these corporations reflect the same wounded ass energy. Come on now. Getting this shit out. All these corporations, all this shit reflects, I'm gonna sneeze, woo. It reflects the same wounded masculine and feminine energy. I don't care where you look at it at. It reflects the same thing. There's this wounded masculinity in how the dominance of even how religion is. Men thinking that they're more superior just because they feel like, or how it's been portrayed to the world, that they feel like, well, God is a man, is a father. I'm like, but how do y'all just not implement a woman or a mother in there? Why don't we question and realize, like, life is truly a balance? There's no one here, whether in human form or whatever, that doesn't have and does not possess or carry within their DNA structure feminine and masculine principles. Last time I checked, is it the X chromosome bigger than the Y? So it ain't even in a dominant aspect. It's more so the feminine aspect. We carry more, and you can research this, we inherit more from our mothers than our fathers. So y'all know what's balancing right now? This is the rise of the divine feminine. This is the rise of that feminine energy within us all. That dark aspect that people are afraid of, that is rising back up, that is being called to the forefront to bring forth that balance. Because how we shown up was been from a wounded place. Now we get to show up authentic and from a healthy and a holistic place, dark and light. That's why it's so beautiful that I had to go through that with my mother, now to see the mother wound where I let that go. But still in that, with having a daughter and, with having a daughter now and my partner, that still highlights, like, points out to where my emotions begin, where my feminine energy is currently, how I approach that, how I am open to that reciprocity. Then the father wound comes in to where now I'm learning, like, the things I did not receive, that structure, that admiration, that protection, that awareness, things more focused on a masculine aspect, not just as a man, not using that as a man perspective, but masculinity, like from how that is, the logical, seeing, things approach, the importance of the emotional intelligence, being more aware, how to really move in a structural and intentional way as a man. So that brings up things, because as I'm hearing my father talk about this, that still brings up, like, that little boy, like, okay, you could have done this though. Now you want to do it now, but I have to accept the fact of, like, it is what it is. Let's move forward now. Let's move. It starts with me because he still reflects that fatherly energy. But the thing with me, I've had to accept that fatherly energy. I've had to accept. And again, it's like, just in all honesty, I might as well just say it now because it's not really a surprise, but I recently had a son. And that conversation I had with my father, I was holding my son. And my son now is only a month. But that conversation really brought full circle about how, like, seeing the patriarchal aspect of who I am, that masculine aspect, both masculine and feminine, but that patriarchal aspect of how now it brings everything full circle for me. Like, how the importance of, will I my conversation with my father was basically like around like, I don't want to have resentment towards you, just because you wasn't there. So I need to know the truth about why it is you made that decision. And so now it's like grieving through that, accepting it, and then not having this built up aggression or resentment to where moving forward I have to project it onto my son, because that's not okay. And the reason I said that and mentioned it to a lot of us is that a lot of us are or have resentment or have something built up, whether through suppressed or repressed emotions, where we don't even realize like how we're treating our kids sometimes, or how we have, whether we're aware of it or not, has a lot to do with whether what we did not receive, whether we did not see and try to become, and the frustration and it becoming overwhelming. The shit is very overwhelming, because to like expressing to him, holding my son, I was like, it's a day-to-day, not so much a struggle, but just to get up and to be something I never seen, and to become something I never had. It really is a deep acceptance of like, man, I can do this. And I already am doing it. And that's the thing I realized, like with the wounds, is allowing me to see the beauty, to be able to speak about it, to be able to share it, to be able to now expand on it, to be able to speak to men about it, to be able to speak to young men about it, because that wound aspect is allowing me to be able to speak to the youth who are currently experiencing, and also share that wounded aspect with the men who are currently battling with it. Like presently, the youth are probably going through it to where when they get to an adult, it's almost like being 10 steps ahead. And then be able to share this also to the women from a perspective from a man. Like a lot of us it ain't, whether we have a mother wound or not, a lot of us have this father wound to where we haven't had structure. And most of men that look like me, a high percentage of them are in the prison system, or are devalued or crucified daily just because of how they show up, and don't have no type of really, there is no support system in place to encourage us to be confident, to love ourselves, to honor who we are beyond just this flesh suit, beyond our color. There's nothing there set in place. And for, just for women, no matter your creed and color, but especially for darker women, if we have grown up in homes where our mothers typically are dark and we haven't got that support system, emotional support, and we have been abandoned emotionally, physically in some type of way, or abused, then you are currently dealing with that type of man. And I'm not talking about just that man. I'm talking about that little boy within him who never had any type of guidance after the fact of he was just told to shut up and go work and just provide and protect your family, or go out there and make this money. All these dysfunctional, self-sabotaging patterns, which again led him to, and had led a lot of them to what? Being incarcerated, which was another system that was basically preparing, people, or literally designed that way. Literally. And the thing about that, the divine knew that this was coming to this point, is that that's the beauty of a lot of us are being in this position to be a guide. And I mean a guide back to yourself, so you can be a guide inwardly, then be a guide outwardly. Because that's all we're doing. A lot of us, it's accepting, like, when we didn't have that guidance, what other way are you being guided? No, you literally have been misguided through social media, by pastors, preachers, mothers, fathers, you name it. Because everyone's just giving you their perspective on life. They're not being honest with integrity and telling you, like, look, man, what about you taking care of you? What about you surrounding yourself with people who are in tune and aware? And it's been a process, because it wasn't always like this. This is why you have so many people coming more aware and more online, or in tune, or this awakening, whatever you want to call it, to the grand scheme of things. So yeah, it's the healing and a lot of the balance is happening all across the board. Again, it's like, give yourself grace. When I learned to give myself grace and have self-compassion, I began to give the people that who I realized was going through their own shit, I learned to give them grace too, man. Cause I was like, bro, you know what? I ain't gonna judge you. I know you're going through something. I know you're going through something because I was there too. But you have a world that so quick to project and hide their own insecurities. As soon as something comes up with somebody else, oh, look at him, oh, da 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 da. Instead of being honest. Gotta take this call. Well, they hung up, but either way, again, we're talking about being the media, so many things, being so misguided in so many ways. But now that we're being guided back to source, to ourselves, and to realizing like we didn't have the best support and guides growing up, so now it's time for us to be aware and take accountability of like what we're doing and be more intentional and build that said brotherhood and sisterhood in communities and environments. But that had to start within ourselves first. Give yourself grace. It took to get to this moment before we just try to beat ourselves up. Don't ever beat yourself up over where you are right now. Because if you are seeing this message, you are valuable. You are beautiful. You are a divine spark in creation. You come from something greater than what you are in the physical. Take care of you for you. Peace and blessings. Shalom.